Knesset is in a big city or in a village, that will be the nafkamina whether or not it's metame with tumas nagoyim. So what are you telling me? That a shul in a big city is not metame with tumas nagoyim? I'll show you that it is. Vatanya. Achuzatchem. Those areas that have been given to you as an achuzah aschem metame b'negoyim. Ve'en Yerushalayim metame b'negoyim. Yerushalayim was not nischalka l'shvatim. According to this man Damar, we're going to see there's a machlokas whether Yerushalayim remained sort of an international city among the 12 shvatim. That means none of them had a chelik there, versus the opinion that Shevet and Yehuda Binyamin divided it. So
just to let you know, there was somebody on the talk radio this morning, Michael Volk was telling you, learned the Daf Yomi this morning, and he talked about Washington, that they want to make Washington a state. He said, we learned that Yerushalayim was independent, never belonged to anybody. So Washington also should not belong to anybody.
Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Washington, D.C. is also a different type of
No,
sovereignty.
so it's the capital. That's what they're trying to do now. So, okay.
Yeah, so there's actually, in Chazal, it's machlokas what the status of Yerushalayim was. There were those that held
any of the Shvatim.
That Rashi says, lo nischalka l'shevet Yehuda Binyamin, and therefore, kol hashvatim shavim ba, all the Shvatim were equal in Yerushalayim. Therefore, it's not an achuzah that belongs to any specific shevet. And therefore, since it doesn't fulfill achuzaschem, there were no tumas nagoy. On Rabbi Yehuda, nilu shamati elamokum mikdash bilvad. He held that Yerushalayim was nischalek to Yehuda and Binyamin. And when David HaMelech bought the Mokum HaMikdash from Aruna Yevusi, which we're going to learn Meretz Hashem in Sefer Shmuel, he gathered money from every shevet. Therefore, the area of the Beis HaMikdash belongs to everybody, but not necessarily all of Yerushalayim. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, there would be Tumas Nagoyim in the Bate Knesios in Yerushalayim, even though it's a krach. Right? Bate Knesset, Bate Midrash is Metamim ben Nagoyim, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Afal Gav de Krachim Nindu. That's the Kasha of the Gemara. And for the Gemara, Ema, Amr, you know, Ani Lo Shamati Makom Mikudash, not Mokum HaMikdash, but holy places. Holy places, including shuls, that also in Yerushalayim would not have been Metame B'Tumas Nagoyim. Now, what really is the machlokas between these mandomim? The Maikom Iflki. Tanakaba Sover Yerushalayim Lo Nischalka L'Shvatim. That Yerushalayim remained a unowned city by any of the Shvatim, and that's why it doesn't fulfill Achuzaschem, and therefore there's no Tumas Nagoyim. Rabbi Yehuda Sover Yerushalayim Nischalka L'Shvatim. Ubeplukta Dani Tanoi. Their machlokas is based on another machlokas Tanoi, the Tanya. Mehaya B'Chalko Shel Yehuda. Yehuda and Binyamin shared Yerushalayim. What was in the chelik of Yehuda? Harabayas, the mountain on which the Beis Hamikdash was built, Halishkos Vazoris, the various offices and the Azoros. Umaya B'Chalko Shel Binyamin. What was in the chelik Binyamin? The Ulam, right, which is the part of the Beis Hamikdash where the Kodesh Kodashim is, and the Ulam is the entranceway to the Heichal. Ubeis Kodesh Kodashim. There was a Ritzua. Haisa Yotza Mechalko Shel Yehuda v'Nechnesas Mechalko Shel Binyamin. Uboya Mizbeach Banu. There was a strip of land that went from Chelik Yehuda and entered into the area where Binyamin was, and the Mizbeach was built there. Binyamin wanted to swallow that area every day. Shenemar chofeif alav kol hayom. Chofeif alav means he hangs over it. The shot in that pasuk is he wanted to recapture the Mokum HaMizbeach. Now, because he had such a hunger to have the Mokum HaMizbeach, Zocha ben Yamin HaTzadik v'naseh ushbisichi l'gvura. He was the host for Kadosh Baruch Hu, because the Shechina dwelled bein akruvim on the Aron, and the Aron is in the Kodesh Kadoshim. We just said the Kodesh Kadoshim is in the Erev Binyamin. Shenemer uvein kseifav shachen. The Shechina is being kseifav of Binyamin. This is the bracha of Binyamin. V'haitan asav Yisrael lo nischak l'shvatim. And according to the Tana that Yerushalayim was not divided, the Tanya, we learn a Baraisa, Ein maskirin batim Yerushalayim. People you couldn't have a hotel in Yerushalayim. They don't have a schus of ownership fully in Yerushalayim. It's like in Israel where they sell you only a 99-year lease or 50-year lease, because the property of Yerushalayim really belongs to the whole nation. So they really have no right to rent out batim l'fishenan shalahem. Rabbi Lezer Bar Tzadok Omer afloi mitois. You can't, even if you have some beds in your house, you can't rent them out either. So, however, people, when they came up Aliyah Regel, they did stay in people's homes. So lefichach, there was a quid pro quo. Oirois kotchim, the hides of the various korbanos that the Balabatim would bring when they came to visit, they would give as a present. The owners of the houses, or the ones who had ownership of the houses that the people were living in, when they came and visit, they sort of would take the hides, not al pi din, because if we say al pi din, they're not really the owners. That when you stay at an inn, it's an etiquette that if you brought a jug of wine to drink with, you should leave it with the or a hide of the behemoth that you shechted as a gift to your host. The fact that he hosted you in his house, you should leave it for him as well. So we seem to be learning a distinction that in Krachim, in big cities, the shuls were metabe b'negoim, but in small villages, they were not metabe b'negoim. But in small villages, since there the ownership of the shul was really more private, those shuls could be metabe b'negoim. Freit the Gemara, did he form metabe b'negoim? Is that so? Were shuls even in villages metabe b'negoim b'Tanya? Lachuza, that means we wait until Ki tavo l'eretz Canaan, asher ani noten lachem lachuza, the notati negat saras. So the negoim will start when you have an achuza. Ad sheyichbashu osa. So number one, they have to conquer the land. And there's another geder. Kav shuosa v'lochel kul l'shvatim. Let's say they conquered it, but they had not divided it to the shvatim. Or chilku l'shvatim v'lo chilku l'beis avos. They divided it among the shvatim, but they had not gone to the detail of giving it to each family. And chilku l'beis avos, they gave it in name only to the beis avos. But in kol echad makir shelo, but it's not like each person was given their house yet. That minayin, in all these situations, there is no tumas negoim yet. Hamud loimer uva asher lo habayis mi shemiyuchad lo. In order for tumas negoim to take hold, it has to be miyuchad to an individual person. Yotza elu shem yuchadim lo. These things, as we just described, it's not miyuchad. So even a shul in the kfarim, a a person didn't really have a miyuchad place in that thing because it belongs to the tzibur. So l'chura, based on this, there should be no tumas nagoyim there either. Ela machmarta kedushin mikara. So we have different ways. This answer where we said hak forim hak krochim is not an acceptable answer. We got to go to the other answers like we had, which he said the ispei dira, the lespei dira, right? If there's a house attached to the shul or not attached to the shul, those are the nafkaminas that are relevant, not this nafkamin. Then our Mishnah said, "Umaskina lo kohen acher." When the kohen gadol was put into Lishkas Parhedrin for 7 days before Yom Kippur, they also appointed another kohen to be like the substitute kohen gadol if something happened to the original kohen gadol. Okay, pshita. It's a davar pashut that irabah psul kohen tamid shel shachar. So let's say the original kohen gadol got a psul. He became tameh prior to his offering of the korban tamid in the morning. So the kohen gadol normally wore 8 begadim, and even on Yom Kippur, the kohen gadol did all of the avodot. Normally, any kohen who wanted could do. There was a pious. It was a lottery who would do the tamid shel shachar, and who would do this other thing, who would do the Torah. On Yom Kippur, the kohen gadol did all the avodot in the base of it. So the first korban to be sacrificed, even on Yom Kippur, is the korban tamid shel shachar. Now, the korban tamid shel shachar on Yom Kippur was also sacrificed with the kohen gadol wearing his 8 begadim. A regular kohen wore 4 begadim. A kohen gadol had 4 extra begadim. The tzitz, the me'il, he had 4 extra begadim. The choshen. So he shechted the korban tamid in the morning. Then they would put on 4 begadim made out of linen only, and he would do the special avodot of Yom Kippur, like the par and the sa'ir, wearing the white cloak. So if he got a psul prior to the shechita of the tamid shel shachar, so that's not so fine. The new kohen who had been appointed to be his backup gets dressed up in the new 8 begadim, and through his action of shechting the korban tamid, mechanchin oso b'tamid shel shachar. See, a kohen gadol had like an inauguration. You can't just walk in the base of Eidah to become a kohen gadol. There's a chin, just like the 7 days of the miluim, where Aaron uvana were machanech. Same thing. Any kohen gadol was appointed, he had to wear the begadim and do an act of hegdish. So no problem, says the Gemara. If the original kohen gadol got his mum or his tumah prior to the shchitas of the korban tamid shel shachar, so you take the new kohen, dress him up in his 8 begadim, and he does the avoda of the tamid shel shachar. He's ready to go. He's been machanech as the kohen gadol. So let's say the first kohen gadol had already shechted the tamid shel shachar, and then a dead sheretz falls on him. Now he's tamid. So how are you mechanech the new kohen gadol into the avodah? Because if he wears, well, there's still some avodot to do, but if he wears his 4 begadim, how is he? Those are the same 4 begadim that a regular kohen hedyot would wear. So how has he been mechanech into the kohen gedula? He's not wearing the right clothes. So the gartel is the way that's going to distinguish him, because according to Ravada Barava, the gartel that the kohen gadol wore on Yom Kippur is also made out of flax, linen, and it's not like the gartel of a regular kohen that is made of kloyim, of tzemer upishtim. So by him wearing the Kohen Gadol's gartel, which is pure linen, and not the one that's kloim, we know that he's the Kohen Gadol. That's how he's mechanech. When he does the other korbanos of the Kohen Gadol korbanos, we have a differentiation. Oh, Hanich Lamandamar, says the Gemara, Av Netu Shel Kohen Gadol Zeu, Av Netu Shel Kohen Hedyot. That only works if during the rest of the year, where in the rest of the year the Torah says the gartel has to be of kloim, that during the rest of the year there was no difference between the Kohen Gadol's gartel and a regular Kohen Hedyot's gartel. Now, on Yom Kippur, when he wears this new gartel of linen, so he differentiates himself. But according to the Manda Omar, who says during the rest of the year, the Kohen Gadol did not wear the same kind of gartel as the Kohen Hedyot, that only the Kohen Gadol wore an avnei made out of kloim, and the regular Kohen Hedyot the rest of the year wore a linen gartel. So now if the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur puts on a linen, right, because there it clearly says in Achrei Mos that on Yom Kippur the Kohen Gadol's gartel is made out of bad only linen. So then there's no difference between the Kohen Hedyot and the Kohen Gadol. How are you going to be mechanechim? That's the Gemara's kasha. Amar Abaya, you know what? Loivesh shmona. The way you do it is if the original Kohen Gadol got his mum after he offered the Tamid Shel Shachar, you take the new Kohen, dress him in 8 begadim, which is the normal Kohen Gadol 8 begadim, and you have him go up to the Mizbeach. Umahapech b'tzinor, he takes a fork, and there was always burning limbs of the Tamid, because remember, we're talking about a case where the Kohen Gadol had already offered the Korban Tamid, and it's already burning. So he takes a fork and he turns the meat around in the fire. He stokes it. And that, according to Rav Huna, is already called an avoda. So he did in the 8 begadim an avoda. So that's how he's mechanech as the Kohen Gadol. Rav Huna, Dam Rav Huna zar, a non-Kohen shahafach b'tzinor that goes into the Beis Hamikdash, takes a fork and tries to do an avoda, even a minimal avoda as taking a fork and turning the limbs, chayiv misa. He holds because it's v'azara karev yumas. Therefore, it's considered an avoda, and therefore, Kohen Gadol who goes up and takes a fork and turns the meat, he's already done an avoda. Now, Rav Papa gives a different teretz. You don't have to put him on the 8 begadim. Avodaso mechanchaso. Listen, the avodah of Yom Kippur is only kosher by Kohen Gadol. So the fact that he's going in, even if he's wearing the arba begadim, but he's doing the part of Yom Kippur and the story of Yom Kippur, these are avodot that are designated for the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. So that's how he becomes the Kohen Gadol. Milo Tanya kol hakelim sha'asa Moshe mishichason mekachoson. When they built the kelim in the midbar for the Mishkan, so they were Moshe chet b'shem HaMishcha. They took the anointing oil and they anointed all the kelim b'shem HaMishcha. Now, after the time of Moshe, you don't have to be Moshe all the kelim, because mikan ve'elach avodoson mechan chason. The fact that the kelim are being used to collect the blood or to do whatever the kli is supposed to do, that's its chinuch. Hachanami, here as well, by the Kohen Gadol, doing the specific avodot that are connected to Yom Kippur, his service, mechan chaso, the avodoso mechan chaso. Okay, very interesting sugya.
Did they have to toivel the kelim?
If they became tameh, yes.
No, but I'm saying before. In other words, the like a meshicha. Like
Yeah,
they
any
did.
any
By
metal.
Moshe Rabbeinu, what they toiveled all the kalim and they did Mashiach. What did they do?
But remember, we only toivel kalim if we buy kalim from non-Jews.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's
Remember we
correct.
learned. Remember we
Yeah,
learned.
that's correct. That's correct.
If we make metal kalim, we don't necessarily need tefillah. Tefillah was learned from, remember, Midian, when they got it was from Ge'iloi Nochrim, so that's a different shot. Okay. So they did not need Shemen HaMishcha. That's the Chiddush we learned here. Kiyos Rav Dimi Omar. We go back to this sugya here of Neto Shel Kohen Hedyot. What was the gartel of a regular Kohen? So Rabbi Elazar Rab Shimon. Rabbi and Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rab Shimon Bar Yochai. Chad Omar Shel Kloim. That the gartel of a regular coin was the same as the coin gadol, which is made out of kloim, semer upishtim. Chad Omar Shel Bois. Another mandomer says, no, the regular coin hedyot wore a linen gartel. And Tistayim, I'm going to prove to you, the Rebbe Huda Shel Klein, of the two mandomer, Rabbi Elazar, I'll prove to you that it's Rebbe who says that a regular's coin hedyot's gartel was shatnez, the time. Ein ben coin gadol coin hedyot el avnei divrei Rebbe. Rebbe says the only difference between a regular coin and a coin gadol is the gartel. And Rabbi Elazar Rab Shimon Omer, af loy avnei. No, not the avnei either. That was not a differentiating point. Now, Amos, when in the year we talked about, if we're talking about the rest of the year, not Yom Kippur, so then there's a lot of differences. What's Rebbe talking about that there's no difference? Tuva Ika. There's a lot of differences with a Kohen Gadol and a Kohen Hedyot. Kohen Gadol Meshamish B'Shmoina. A Kohen Gadol, when he does the avodah, wears 8 begotten, the Hedyot Barba. So this statement, this brisa of Ein Ben Kohen Gadol Le Kohen Hedyot El Avnei, it must be referring to what, gentlemen? El Alav Yom Kippurim. That brisa was specifically related to Yom Kippur. And it says very clearly in Achrei Mos that on Yom Kippur, the Avnei of the Kohen Gadol has to be linen. And Rebbe says that it's different than the regular Kohen Hedyot, must be that in regular Kohen Hedyot's gartel is made out of shatnez. That's what the Gemara wants to prove here. And that's why the Tistayim, that it's Rebbe said that a regular gartel of the Kohen Hedyot was kloim. Gemara says, Amri lo, you don't have to learn that way. This is not a proof. I could learn not like that. Really, the baraisa of Ein Ben Kohen Gadol Kohen Hedyot Avnei is referring to the rest of the year. You asked me, but the rest of the year there's a lot of differences. We're talking about Ubahanech the Shavim. We're talking about that baraisa refers to those things that are similar, like an Avnei, right? Or actually, 4 of the begodim of the Kohen Gadol was exactly the same as the Kohen Hedyot. It's just the Kohen Gadol had to wear 4 extra begodim, but he had to start off the same way as the Kohen Hedyot. So and it still could be that the only difference between them is the Avnei, and therefore you don't have the same right that you have here learning towards Yom Kippur. Now, that was Rav Dimi who came. Kios Ravin, when Ravin came, Omar, he said, Avneito shel Kohen Gadol b'Yom Kippurim, the gartel of the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur, Divrei Kol Shel Bois. There's no argument there. That had to be of linen, because the Torah said specifically it has to be of linen. B'Shayim Osashana, what about the rest of the year? Divrei Kol Shel Kloim, that the Kohen Gadol's gartel was shatnez. Loy nechlaku elabavnetu shel kohen hedyot. The machlokes is about the gartel of the regular kohen. Bein b'shar Yemos Hashanah, bein b'Yom Kippur. That means the kohen hedyot wore the same gartel no matter what. Sherebi Omer shel kloin. Rebbe held that the gartel of the regular kohen hedyot was shotness. Rav Shimon Omer shel boitz. And so you see that's a different way of learning than Rav Dimi. It says al besaro. It says v'lovasha kohen midovad. The kohen should wear a linen. U'michnasevad yilbash al besaro. This is in Vayik. This is not an Achremos. This is in Vayikra Vav, talking about what begodim the kohanim wear. So it says al besaro. He should wear, it says v'lovasha kohen, and then yilbash al besaro. Ma Talmud Lomar yilbash. Well, what's the second yilbash? You already said v'lovasha kohen. Lavi mitznefet the avnei la romasadeh. That the hat and the gartel had to be worn when you did the Trumas Hadeshen, which was the first avoda to remove the ashes from the top of the mizbeach. Even though when the Torah talks about the avoda of the Trumas Hadeshen, it doesn't mention the mitznefes and the avnei. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rav Doisa Omer. No, it's to teach me something else. Lahavi bigdei kohen gadol b'yom kippurim shein ksherim l'kohen hedyot. That a kohen gadol that on Yom Kippur wears his 4 begodim out of linen, a kohen hedyot can wear the same garments the rest of the year, because according to Rav Dosa, a kohen hedyot wore regular linen garments the rest of the year, which is a machlokes with Rebbe, right? Because Rebbe held that at least the avnei was of shatnes, even of the kohen hedyot. So Rebbe Omer state shuvas b'davar. I can push aside Rav Dosa 2 ways. Chada, one, the avnei shel kohen gadol b'yom kippurim lo zeh avnei shel kohen hedyot. Number one, forget about the rest of the year. It's clear that on Yom Kippur, their avnei was different. So it's clear that according to Rebbe, the avnei shel kohen gadol on Yom Kippur was linen, and a regular kohen hedyot was made out of kloim. Otherwise, how could he say lo zeh avnei shel kohen hedyot? The od begodim shenishtam sheben kedusha chamura tishamif ben kedusha kala. You, Rav Dosa, said that a regular kohen hedyot the rest of the year could wear the arba the begodim that the kohen gadol wear on Yom Kippur. Well, how could that be? We have a principle, mylin bekodesh v'lo moiridin. Could the begodim that the kohen gadol wear on Yom Kippur, which was a kedusha chamura, be used for kedusha kala for a kohen hedyot the rest of the year? Okay, so then ma Talmud Lomar yilbash. We're back to the question. It says v'lovasha kohen midobad. What's the extra yilbash for? The rabbi says ashrakin. The clothes that sort of got worn, as long as they don't have holes in them, you can wear them again. That means you can wear, it's not a complete shmata yet. You can continue to wear it. As Rav Dosa Tamei. However, Rav Dosa obviously doesn't hold of that. Why not? The Tanya, it says in the pasuk there by Yom Kippur, v'hinicham sham. It says uva aharon el ol moed. These are all from this week's parsha. Uva aharon el ol moed. Ufarshat es b'dei abat. The Kohen comes and takes off his linen clothing, asher lavash b'vol hakodesh, that he wore when he went into the Kodesh Kodoshim. V'hinicham sham. He left them there. What do we learn? You have to bury those garments. Nobody could ever use those garments again. So it's like Sheamus gets Geniza, this kind of garment that he wore also gets geniza. Why? Rav Dosa Omer shlo yishtamish ben Yom Kippur macher. No, so v'nicham sham lamed shetunin geniza. So the Tanakam of this Baraisa says you can't. Nobody can ever use it again. Rav Dosa says shlo yishtamish ben Yom Kippur macher. No, you can. The other Kohanim Hedyoid could use those Arba Begodim during the rest of that year, but they cannot be used by Kohen Gadol next Yom Kippur. But a Kohen Hedyot could use it. That's why he has the shita that they're kosher the Kohen Hedyot. Ton Rabbanon, Iru Bopsu.
Well, what about?
Yes, Alan?
His internet is bad.
What was
He
that?
won't be able to. His internet is bad. He won't be
Okay.
able
Alan,
to.
we don't hear you. Ton Rabbanon. Iru
Can you hear
Bopsu.
me now?
Yes, go ahead.
No. So why do we say Malam B'Kodesh Fema reading by the Kohen Hedjot then? If a Kohen Gadol can't use it again, but why should a Kohen Hedjot be able to use it? It's Moridin.
So that it's L'Rabois says Ashmaki. That's the Yilbash. That's the limud from Yilbash that they could be worn again. That's only Rav Dosa. Rebbe doesn't hold of that because of Milam B'Kodesh. Rebbe says they can't use it. We had a machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Dosa.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Ton Rabbanon, Irubopsul, Uminu Acher Tachlis. If you have a Kohen Gadol and he became Tameh, and another Kohen is appointed underneath him, and then the Kohen who initially had some kind of psul, his psul got better. He was metaher from his tumah. So what happens? Rishon Choyzer Lavodos, the original Kohen Gadol goes back into his position. Sheni, Kol Mitzvahs Kuna Gdola Alav de Rameir. The Sheni stays in the same status. He all the various isurim of a Kohen Gadol remains on him, and he can do the avoda with Shmona Begodim according to Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yossi Yomer Rishon Choyzer Lavodos. The Rishon, yes, comes back to his service, but the Sheni, he's in limbo. He cannot serve as the Kohen Gadol anymore because there's going to be strife with the original Kohen Gadol who's now back in his job. But he cannot serve as a Kohen Hedyot because Malin B'Kodesh Vein Moirid. So he's in limbo. On Rabbi Yossi, Ma'aseh b'Yosef ben Elam b'Tzipoiri. Yosef ben Elam lived in Tzipori. She'ir bo psul b'Kohen Gadol. That he was a kohen, and the original Kohen Gadol had a psul. Uminu tachtav, and Yosef ben Elam was appointed the Kohen Gadol. And then the original Kohen Gadol got better, so he went back into the position. Amru Chachamim Rishon Choyzer Lavodos. The first Kohen Gadol goes back. Sheni, Ein Aroi Lo L'Kohen Gadol, V'Lo L'Kohen Hedyot. He's in limbo. He cannot be the Kohen Gadol, he cannot be the Kohen Hedyot. Kohen Gadol Mishum Eva. He can't be the Kohen Gadol because of potential hatred. How can you have two Kohen Gadolim in the Beis Hamikdash? It's opening up the door to potential strife. We don't want to do that. Kohen Hedyot Mishum Malam B'Kodesh V'Lo Morid. He cannot serve as a Kohen Hedyot because of the concept that once he was a Kohen Gadol, you can't go down B'Kedusha. Okay. Stop here. So tomorrow we'll learn at 9:00.
Shabbos.